This is Wednesday, the 12th of November 2003. My name is Pat Christie and I'm recording Elsie Manson of Aishness on behalf of the Heard Oral History Group. This will be about her life and times and growing up in the Hillswick and Aishness area. Could you tell me what was a favourite toy of yours when you were a pretty lass?
I think it was me doll. It was a baby doll with eyes that could open and shut. It was very unusual toy for that time. It was given to me with somebody for his south. And there wasn't much I do in Shetland at that time, that is. And she was a very special toy.
Didn't it have a china face or anything?
Yeah, she had a china face with just a stuffed body.
And a bonny frock and that kind of...
Yes, yes.
And you didn't have her still?
No, she went down the line.
Right, Elsie, where were you born?
I was born in Hillswick. The house was called Parking.
And when was that?
1925.
Yeah.
In May 1925.
And what was your family then? What was your folks name?
My father was Henry Peterson. He was the blacksmith at that time. And my mother was Mary.
What's your earliest memories then?
I think among my earliest memories anyway is being down at the smithy with my father, me and my older brother. He would take us with him down when he was shoeing horses and that. I suppose it was just to keep us out of the way to let the work get down up at the house. I loved going, enjoyed it very much.
So what do you mind of your father shoeing horses then?
Well, they were all sizes of horses and all colours, of course. They were the big animals, the Clydesdales for the farm, and down to just the pretty Shetland pony they were all ploughing with at that time. And there would be white ones and red ones and black ones.
Did they come for all over?
Oh yes, yes. They would come long distances with them for Ullaberry, Colliford, Gloss, Aishness. And there were busy times and slacker times in the springtime before all the work. There were always a lot of them. And of course he did other work besides shoeing horses. I mean he did all sorts of work and made the hoops to put out the cart wheels, and that was a very exciting thing for us kids because there was a round base, cement base that the wheel was putting on, and then it took two men and they carried this thing when it was right hot out the furnace, and they laid it on the wheels and it was burned down the wheels, and then would take fire in the wood, and there would have to be somebody there with pails of water putting it out.
Is this the colour?
Yes, and then he had to go round with the hammer, knocking it into place. And I remember that very well. It was very exciting.
So this would have been kind of probably hate and hard work, was it?
Oh yes, very heavy work.
So what other things did he do then as well?
I suppose most things with metal he did, and he, repaired ploughs, and he had one time made a sort of plough thing for horn, kind of, in between the drills with it. And it was all sorts of metal work. Yeah.
Did you hear craft?
Yes.
Yeah. Was that a big craft?
No, not really. Maybe at the most there might have been 3 cows. And then the sheep, the usual hill sheep, and the horses that they were working on, you think. Usually one. I do remember 2, but usually was one. And
your mother then, what's your first memories of what she would have been doing around the house?
She just always seemed a very busy person because, there were 5 of us in all, and just the usual household work and the knitting and that. She did a lot of knitting.
What kind of things would that be?
Well, in the first of my life it was things like spencers and shawls. I mean, later on, of course, she got into the Fair Isle gloves and that.
What about all overs or anything?
No, I never saw her do that.
No.
She did a lot of Fair Isle gloves and Fair Isle mittens and Fair Isle belts.
What would have been the staple diet?
Well, it was a great thing, the porridge in the morning. Not that I ever enjoyed it. And well, in the summertime there were lots of fish. Part of your job was to get fish ashore, and I'd feed you all summer and you salt it for the winter. And that was something I very much enjoyed, going fishing with my father. Night after night in the summer days when the work was over, and me and my 2 oldest brothers, we would be sent down to get bait, to pick lampets, to get bait for baiting the hooks, you see, and we'd have for tea and then go fishing, and just could bring in boat loads of lovely haddock.
And so where was this?
At Hillswick.
And you had your own pretty boat, so you just rowed off.
Yes, sir.
And what did you do with them when you got them home?
Well, I mean, we took them up to the house and then they had to be washed and gutted. And usually, my father always wanted ones boiled for supper time.
He didn't keep them cold?
They sometimes did that too, depending.
Yeah.
But very often ate them for supper, and then they sometimes had another pot boiled cold for later on. In the summertime there was a lot of fish eaten.
So would it have been haddocks and pilticks mostly then?
Yes, haddocks and pilticks. You would get the flatfish occasionally and just anything. But I mean chiefly haddock and pilticks.
And as a pretty lass that was involved in that as well?
Oh yes, we went off fishing from an early age. I just loved it.
You never get to the Craigs or anything like that?
No. My father did and my brothers did. I don't think that was a girl's thing in those days.
Where did you go to school?
I go to school at Oriford, about 2 miles away maybe, or something like that.
And you had to walk it?
Yeah.
And how many bairns was at the school then?
I suppose maybe when I started, 30 to 35, it must have been a fair few because there were 2 teachers. And I think they didn't get 2 teachers until they had 25 at that time. It seemed that there was an awful lot. I'd let me maybe say 35, I'm not sure.
And what were your teachers? What was their names?
Well, the small teacher was Clemmy Leslie, and the other one was Betty Harwick, who later became Mrs. John Tulloch of the Hosiery fame.
And what's your memories of the school then?
I enjoyed school very much. I always loved the school. Maybe seems a strange story, but I did.
What was so good about it then?
Well, I enjoyed the lessons. I really did. And she was I consider a very good teacher. But she was a hard teacher, and you really were kept at it. And you really had about it if you didn't. That was really forced in, whether you wanted to or not. Yeah, she was a hard teacher, but I think a very good teacher.
So what kind of things would you have been?
Well, I really liked all my lessons, and that's all I can say. I was always very keen on reading, but no, I enjoyed the lessons. And there was 5 of us that started the school in one day, 3 girls and 2 boys. And then the next year, we were hurried through 2 lots of classes, and we joined up. Well, my oldest brother was just a year ahead. He was just a year older, and he was a year ahead. So we joined up with his class, which was 3. So most of the time there was 8 of us in the class. I suppose it was so difficult. You see, there was a lot of children. If there were too many classes, it wasn't easy. So she sometimes did that.
And what about games at the school or that? Can you mind any games that you might have played?
Oh yes. We played rounders and cricket and all sorts of that outside things, And the boys played football. I never mind playing football at school, but there was two playgrounds. There was one for the boys and one for the girls.
So they were kept separate? Yes,
at that time.
And what about something they did at the school? What did you
Oh, you carried your piece, and the teacher, in the winter time, in the summer you carried your milk, but in the winter time the teacher made big jugs of Coke for us. So we had a hot drink in the middle of the day we were peace.
And was walking to the school a bit of a trial, or was it?
No, I don't know. It was bad in winter. It really was bad in winter because you could be really absolutely soaking wet. You see, there was none of the good protective garments it is now. It was usually just a bit of a coat that your folk would make up for you, maybe you'd have a jacket that they would hide or whatever. There were no showerproofs or stuff like that.
Speaking about clays then, what sort of clays would you hide? What was your feet gear?
Well, when I was first at school, it was girls' lacing boots way up your legs. But the rubber boots soon became available and very fashionable, so we all had rubber boots. But we were never allowed to sit in school in them. She was very adamant about that. We had to bring a pair of, didn't matter how old, but a pair of old slippers that we could sit on, because they were considered to be not good to sit in for your feet. And you could be soaking, dripping wet when you came in the morning.
So what would they have done? Dried the clays?
Yes, they were very good like that. They would have nails knocked in round the bogies and put on big fires. I can remember shivering a lot coming in the morning. You were very wet, and when you took off your coat and the wet was gone and you were just shivering. But they did try to keep on good peat fire, and they did dry up their caps and scarves and coats as much as they could around the fire. It was pretty difficult, I do, to get it all dried, but they did try.
So what about health then of the bairns then? Would you say that they were healthy, and if they were getting weak and that kind of thing? Did asthma affect anybody? Or?
Yeah, we did have once it was asthmatic, but there was lots of colds. I mean, I was very bad for picking up cold. Suffered a lot with my chest and my throat. Yeah, there was lots of that, and I do believe that the bad weather and getting wet and that didn't help. You'd get your legs wet and everything was soaking. I mean.
And what about books and writing and stuff like that? What kind of stuff were you?
Well, until you were older, we always used slates. And then when we were in the second room, then we were into writing on paper. Well, most of it was written on paper then.
And you'd have to be very particular with your writing out.
Oh, yes. There was great emphasis on that, and spelling.
And what about sums and that? Did you have to do that?
Yes, yes. And mental arithmetic and tables, my goodness, yes. No, we had a good teacher, really good teacher.
Yeah. What do you mind about leaving school? What did you do then?
First few months that I was out of school, I just worked helping somebody like a domestic, in the house, just what they then called a day girl. And that was the Jenny Gilbertson. You've heard of her.
I have.
She was married to my cousin. And I worked for them for maybe 4 or 5 months. And then I went as shop assistant.
Can you tell me something of Jenny Gilbertson then?
She was a very interesting person. Always involved in something. She was never just a housewife. She was either writing or she at one stage went into photography again. And then she worked in a little knitting business at one time. And she was a very, very active person.
Was she involved in the concert parties and stuff?
Oh, yes. And later on she got a job teaching music at the schools and dancing and that sort of thing. And then after that again, that's after my day at school, so I'm not sure, but now I think she did teach just as a teacher, of all subjects. But she did first start as a knitting teacher. She was involved in the choir practices and for the church, She also did that.
So you have good memories of it?
Oh, yes, I was fond of Jenny. Yeah. I liked her.
Whereabouts did she live then?
She lived right in at Hillswick, in at the main village over at Hillswick, just up on the brae above the hut.
So after you did that...
Then I went into Turok's shop as a shop assistant, and I was there till married, and that was a busy time because all the men were called up, so it was only young ones like us that was available to get to do the work.
Whereabouts was Turok's shop?
Oh, I was just right below the school that I attended, the Durfast. It was the time of rationing and coupons and all that things. And everything was weighed up, then measured up. You didn't get packets of this and that and the next thing. So it's a lot of work.
What did it come in then?
Well, sugar would come in big, what would it be, 200 weight bags maybe, and lentils the same would come in big bags, and peas and whatever.
And then you weighed it out?
Oh, you weighed it out. When there was nobody in the shop, then you were continually weighing and making ready to fill up the grocery van going out the next day and to have things ready when people came shopping, you see.
So where did the stores come from originally?
From Lerwick.
And they would come with a van?
Yes, there was a big van that came delivering stuff. And dropping off at each shop as they went along, you see.
And you said there were a grocery van that went around out for there. Where did that...
Well, just around North Maven, They went as far as Rue, the shop that I worked in. So it was a lot of work preparing all the stuff because it would be late at night when the driver would come back and everything had to be standing ready so that they could get it in and he could get off home again.
And then folk would have come for around as well, just to
yes, there was a lot of just walking to the shops in those days.
How many shops was in the area at that time?
Oh, that was tough. And then there was one at Hillswick, proper, right in at the end of the road. And then there was one up the Eastness Road for a while. That would be the ones at that time.
And in Heller, what they wanted?
There was one at Heller, Peter Smith. And they all bought hosiery. As well as selling, they bought the hosiery, you see.
So folk would have been supplying them with Spencers and stuff like that?
Yes, and people all came selling the shop where I worked anyway, they came, the other shop as well, they all came selling their wool, you see, off the sheep. And then Tulloch's had a lot of yarn because he had knitting machines and a lot of women employed in that way. So he had always had yarn for sale, so sometimes just exchange the wool for the yarn. But you could also just buy it if you wanted.
So he had knitting machines and stuff like that. Was that folk that had knitting machines in their houses?
No, he had a lot of knitting machines in a room and he had women working on them, and he also had a lot of girls sitting finishing these garments. I think when I went to work there first, there might have been between the shop and that together I did, there were about 30 workers.
Yeah, mostly women?
Yes, at that time it would be, because the men that had been working had been called up. There would be one or two men maybe, older men, and maybe there was a couple of young boys in the shop at one time. That.
Were there any other kind of barter system apart from wool then? Were there other things that you could sell to get the earnings, to get money?
No, I don't think so.
No eggs or anything?
Oh yes, you sold eggs. You could sell eggs. They would, especially in Dutland areas, like the vans going round would come in with whole loads of eggs sometimes, which all had to be washed and packed, you see, as well, with the assistants. There was a lot of eggs sold at that.
You said it was time when folk were being called up?
Yeah, you see, the men had been not only been in the shop, there was men in the shop and going with the vans. Well, they were still, as long as the vans did run, there was still always a man driving the van. Though I do remember being out selling and some man just driving. I can't, as some flu or something, we were short of people. There was a man driving, and then finally, of course, that service.
Going back a pretty bit, the women that was working in the shop knitting and finishing and that kind of thing, would they make a reasonable amount of money, or was it?
Well, for then days, I suppose so, but it wasn't big money. It was a lot of work for not big money. But then everything was like that. And they were fetched in every morning. They had a bus. Tulloch had a bus, and he would go either himself or have a driver go and collecting in these women for Collifort and Olivery and Gloss. And there were girls for Asians. Sometimes some of them had taken lodgings in Halswick, because with the bad weather it was a long cycle. But other ways they would cycle to work.
It's been quite a big operation.
Yeah, there was a lot of work going on down in the knitting.
And do you think that the calling up of the men, did that bring hardships to Halswick and Asians area in itself? Or?
Well, it would, because you see all the young men had to go. So I suppose it affected even craft work a lot, because it was left on the women and older men. Of course, a lot of these men would have been away, merchant navy men anyway. So in some ways, they were still merchants even.
But more of them did than...
Yeah, there were more of them. There was ones called up to the services.
And did they all come back?
No. Though there wasn't... in this particular small spot, I would say there wasn't a lot of life. It was in the 1418.
No.
There was one that didn't know.
Did they leave and perhaps find something else?
Yeah, quite some of them, when they came back, they were into something else. Some of them was so.
When you finished there, was that because you married?
You married, yes, and came to stay here.
What was your husband's name?
Jimmy Manson.
Jimmy Manson.
Yeah. He had a craft here, and over at Nations Lighthouse we had a big park there for sheep, maybe about 200 sheep there. So that was the life after that.
And what did you think of living here? Did you find it a big difference, or did you?
Yes, I must admit I never liked it too well. It was very lonely after living in Halswick. We were so near the sea in Halswick and everything, and there wasn't much going on in compare, but you were just very busy, and I don't think that I ever thought that much about it, because you just were busy and working. And
you're saying it's lonelier here?
You were nearer to the main road and seeing what was passing, and even boats coming in the bow, and just everything. You'd see when the hotel was, there was people walking and buses coming and all sorts of things that wasn't here.
Your husband was a crafter, yeah? And did you do anything else?
No, that was a crafter.
Did you have Guy?
Yes, we had Guy and sheep and horses to begin with, and then the horses good and the tractor came.
Was his parents here, by the way?
No. His father was. His mother died when he was just 2.5.
So you would have been making the net then?
Yeah, it was just busy. You were just very busy and all the usual craft work and whatever.
And did you knit?
Yes. We hand knitted on the machine finally. as well. We bought a machine and I worked on the machine. And he worked on the machine too.
Right.
And I finished, yeah.
So what did you sell that to then?
Various outlets at that time. There was all different firms buying.
And crops, what kind of crops were you growing?
Just the usual, corn and tatties and nips and kale, that sort of thing.
Right, Elsie, what's your memories of the late Tom Anderson?
Tom was quite a bit older than me, so I think the first that I remember much about Tom was him playing the dances.
And that would have been the fiddle?
Yes.
And was he in a band?
Yes.
Did he have a name?
No, not that I remember.
They just thought getting together? Mm-hmm. Yeah, what would have been playing with him?
I believe the first time that I heard him playing was, it would just be people from Aishnes here, at a concert in Helswick. And his youngest brother at that time was just still in short trousers, but he was playing too. They were a very musical family.
What was that brother's name?
Jimmy.
And what did he play?
The accordion.
So they were all musical?
Oh yes. And there was just other ones stations and even next door to them there were people that was in it, I think.
And so he travelled around, did he?
Well, just from time to time you would see him at dances, but then, you see, he got involved in the 40 Fiddlers in Lerwick when that group started up. But, so he wasn't so much north about it. It would just be on occasion, but we always had him in his fiddling.
He was an insurance?
Yes. And he would go house to house, you can do it, collecting your payments. I can't remember how regularly it was, but he was, going around the houses on a regular basis, collecting the money you were due for this. Oh, it was just small amounts in those days, we must folk.
Do you think that might have influenced him actually collecting music?
Oh, I think not only music, but I think he was very interested in old stories, and I'm sure that he collected a lot of material like that.
Just for around this district?
Well, at every district you see he went to, the same when he was working for Lerwick. I think that he was travelling all over and getting stories for all around.
So he would have been interested in folklore as well as...
Oh yes, he was.
Yeah.
I think he was. I doubt he has quite a lot of stuff that he recorded.
It's probably in the archives.
It will probably be.
And do you have any recollections of his personality?
Oh, he was a very jovial sort of fellow and very chatty and pleasant. He seemed to be at home in every company, sort of. He was very easy to talk to.
And so, were any of his family left here at all then, or were they all moved for Moorfield?
No, they moved to Moorfield to Shetland, and there was family left there for quite a while, years after that. But there is no immediate family there though, in Aishnes.
And you can't mind any tunes he would have played or anything like that?
No, not by name, no. I've never been good at the names of tunes. I love the music, but I'm not good in the names.
Do you ever go back down to Helswick then?
Yes, oh yes. The only body in the old home now where I was is my brother-in-law. That was a man next door here that married my sister, Eddie Moot, and he's the only one in the old home now. But his son and partner lived just down the road for there.
Do you think that times have changed then a lot?
My goodness.
Do you think it's changed for the better?
Oh, some of it's for the better, there isn't a doubt of that. Sometimes you maybe wish in other ways that the old ways back, but no, of course it's progressed very much and things are much easier though. But folks seem just as busy. That's the amazing thing, it's all done with machinery or computers and whatever and phones and whatever, but they don't seem to have any more time. In fact, in many ways it seems that there's less time. I mean, when I was a young person, there were a great visiting in the evenings, one neighbour to the next one. And you'd never see that now. People will call it a time, I mean, but not in the way they did then. In the winter evenings, it was just sort of mapped out with somebody for this or somebody for that house. There were always somebody in, and they'd never find time to do that now. No.
What did folk do when they get for hosters? Did they just sit and have a cup of tea?
Yes, and they would have the women would have their knitting.
What about the men? Did they play cards? Or?
Yes, sometimes.
Yeah.
They did.
Were there any other kinds of entertainment than singing or telling stories? Or?
No, they would, I'm sure, be telling stories now and again, or recalling things, but no, and there were the usual small dances in the place, and sometimes a concert. And
What do you think about the concert parties?
well, I don't suppose it'd be much thought of nowadays, all that we hear, but it was very entertaining, I think. And there would be a school concert, and then there would sometimes be an adult concert, you know.
What kind of things?
Well, there would be the musical, but then there would be recitations, and there would be sketches, you can. And that was good. I mean, we thought it was fine. There was no television, and there wasn't all that much else.
Did you just watch, or were you a participant?
As a child, of course, I was a participant. No, not after that. And then singing bits, yes, but not in the drama pieces.
Right.
No.
Memories of the hotel.
Going back and as a child, it was just this lovely big hotel, and I mean everything was so beautiful, and the grounds were so lovely kept, and it was just very posh, and you would never have dreamed that you could have gone in there. It was just in another world, sort of. And I do remember very well about the boat coming in with the visitors. I think it was on a Wednesday morning, but that morning at 7 o'clock you're always awakened with the boat blowing as she came in. And then this group of men that came to do the flitting, you see, would have gathered, and they would get off the passengers and get them ashore, and then it would be the goods for the local shops. See, so it was a busy place in Hillswick then, you see. There was always something going on.
And what kind of folk came to the hotel at that stage?
Well, it was a mixture, I'm sure. I think you often saw families. Sort of father and mother and a couple of children, 3 children. And you got the bird watchers, and, you know, just the same as you get now. And just various people interested in the scenery even. But it wasn't so easy, you see, to get a boat. Though there was a few men that had hiring cars, and they would stand in a row below the hotel, and these people could come down and hire them for take them here, take them there. And the famous round was over the Hiller, and then they would get somebody there would boat them across the Voe, Rona's Voe, and then they would climb Rona's Hill. That was a great thing.
Somebody was at that Hiller actually rowing.
Oh yes, there would always be somebody able to take them across. I'm not sure who it was. It quite possibly was Peter Smith, who had the shop. That's Laura, you met Laura. That's her father. Well, that would be probably her brothers sometimes. Yeah. There might have been other ones, I don't really know. But I know that they did get boated across and would climb the hill. It's a hard way reaching the top. Yeah. But that did go on.
And were there many seasonal workers that came into Hillswick then?
Well, you see, every year there was a group of workers in the hotel that came. There would be the boots, and as it was saying, Norn.
What's the boots?
Well, he cleaned the boots for one thing.
Okay.
But he did outside jobs, I think, as well. I don't know what all his duties was. And then there was a boatman, because they had 2 motor launches, and they took them off for trips, sometimes fishing trips, sometimes just cruising around the shore. So there would be a boatman and the boots, and of course all the inside staff, all the housemaids and waitresses and bar staff and whatever.
And can you mind any of the owners of the hotel?
Who owned the hotel? Yeah. Well, it was the P&O company that owned it.
But I mean, like the managers or any?
I remember one at the end of the time, it was James Lawrence. But no, I can't really remember. There were different ones, I'm sure. I don't know what size of staff was, but there was quite a few. It was a very well thought of little hotel. They really provided a lovely service, and the staff, it was all mostly just local girls. When I say local, I mean from Shetland. There would be girls from Yell and Skerries and Lerwick, but they were all well trained. There was always a manageress that could train them well. They were a very well trained staff. Very proper uniform, you know, the morning uniform, then the afternoon uniform, and the black and white, and I mean, it was all very well done. And they were full from 1st of May to the end of September every year. It was busy.
And can you mind the origins? Why the hotel came into being? Do you have any?
No, I don't know why, but it was one of 3 that came to Shetland about 1900, and they were from Norway, and the other 2 burned.
Hence the wooden.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
and one of them was at Spiggy, I know.
Right.
But I'm not sure where the other one was. I have been told, but I can't remember. So it was always there in my lifetime. And it was, you see, at that time, it was by way of a cruise as well. That was just all in part of the holiday. I think the holidays ran either 10 days or 3 weeks, whichever you wanted to book. And then I think they started at least and come up around the coast, and then they were to Orkney, and then to Shetland, you see, and then back the same way. So that was just all part and parcel of the holiday.
And did this affect Halswick? I mean, the influx of seasonal workers and the influx of tourists and stuff like that, was that very much in sight in Halswick?
Oh yes, yeah. very much. And the visitors, they would call along the craft houses wanting to buy sheepskins or knitwear or whatever they were doing. Probably some of those people would, I know in the case of my family, they would write and order stuff all through the year. They would take their name and address. I think it was a good thing.
So it was a very good thing for
I think so. It was a bright time of the year. It was just a sort of dull when that was finished.
What did you do over the winter then, would you say?
Well, it was just all the usual craft work, and the women were knitting. And the winter evenings was a great time for knitting. There was more time to knit in the winter than in the summer, you see, because of the work and the summer work.
And what about the light then for making jumpers?
Well, it was just the oil lamps, of course, and then finally, of course, the telly lamp came. That was a mantle lamp. Before that, actually, at home we had an Aladdin with a mantle, but often it was just wick lamps until the telly came.
When was that?
I don't remember when the tellies first came, really. I wouldn't like to put a date on that. Because we had that Aladdin lamp with a mantle which gave out a very good light in all my childhood. And it was certainly, I do it in the 1940s before they would have had a telly lamp. There was another type called a Coleman, and that was a mantle lamp. But the telly lamps was much later in coming, and they of course were much better light.
And what about water then? How did you get your water?
Well, everybody had their well. Every craft had their well.
And where was your well back in?
Oh, very near, just at the back of the house. It was very deep. It was a very deep well. So it was a bit of a worry with children. But it was all well built up and cemented around the top and a lid. And my father always had it padlocked.
Okay.
Because, for you know, it was 6 feet deep anyway. And it was a job getting the water out in summer. But it never ever went dry. There was always water down at the bottom. At the top it was okay in winter, but in summer he had an iron hook made that you put on the pail handle and lowered it down. But it always, because there was children, it always had to be padlocked.
You didn't have any stories to keep you away, you were like...
No, it was just shut up so because it must have been an awful nuisance for them, but I mean it was always padlocked.
What about the animals and that? Did they have a separate?
No, really, I mean we'd carry for the well for the animals, and of course there was a burn quite nearby.
Right. And what about here? Was
the same here, the well was just up there and at the wall there, it was just a well. Yeah, but there's no padlocking.
No.
I don't know why. We always had a big stone on it.
Maybe is she asleep?
No,
No,
nearly. But it would have been deep enough to do problems.
Oh, yeah.
No, we didn't have it padlocked, but we did have a big heavy stone that children wouldn't handle very well.
And the weather, if you can you mind anything about?
Well, I just remember the weather in summer as being very much better. Really much warmer summers. I can remember just going to school just in a cotton dress and a cardigan, no coat, canvas slippers or sandals on your feet. I mean, it was quite warm, really. I remember hot summer days.
In the winter?
There were more snow, a bit more snow. Sometimes, some years there would be a lot of snow. Other years not spectacular, but there was certainly more snow. I don't remember so much about this terrible gales and rain that we have now. Maybe I forgot.
Where did you get your pets from?
It was quite a piece away, and then up lots of the Halswick people came into Aishnas to get pet, and more was that cut out.
So how did you work that? Did you take that home with you?
Well, to begin with, it was always taken home with just a horse and cart. And some people even fetched them home in barrow loads, built them up in the hill and just wheeled them home. I mean, if there was a good day, they might go several times a day to bring home a barrow load, in case it was a bad day the next day. But most people had a horse and cart and brought them home and had it stuck at home. And then small lorries started to come, really small lorries. But then they did damage to the tracks out into the hill, and there was a job keeping that in repair once the motorised
lot heavier.
came on it, you see. But that again was just a communal job. All the shareholders there would go and spend a day or two on the road to get it in repair before the lorrying season started. Well, it was all Martha roads that I remember, the dusty Master road.
And luckily not that many vehicles around.
No, you see, there weren't that many. When I was a child, there weren't that many. Not many cars, only a few. After that, there was maybe quite a few motorbikes before there really came to be a lot of cars.